Hey boys and girls, so today we are going to be looking at some more strategies that we can use for solving word problems, and we are going to be doing that today with the story The Mitten by Jan Brett. In the story we're going to see how every time we turn the page as we continue along with the story, we're going to be adding another animal to the inside of the mitten. So before we get started, as we look at our pictures, our illustrations of all the animals that are going into the mitten, I want you to make a prediction about how many animals you think will fit in the mitten total. So we're going to be finding that out as we read along. So you can take a moment to make that prediction really quick, and we'll get to see how many animals we end up with. So again, here we are with The Mitten by Jan Brett. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. "If you drop one in the snow," she warned, "you'll never find it." But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens." So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. And what do we see right here? We see a little mole crawling into view, and he looks like he'll be the first one to find the mitten. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. We have another animal coming right along. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was enough room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. So we started off with one animal in the mitten, and then we added one more. So now we have how many animals in the mitten? 2. And we're going to be getting some more. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but, not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. So now we are up to 3 animals, and another one on the way. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, right there, they quickly let him in. And another animal is coming right along. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left. When they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. So now we're at 4 animals. Wow, that looks pretty crowded in there. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. So now we're at 6 animals inside of that mitten. And another big animal is on the way. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten, all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be, but what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. And we have one more animal on the way. We now have 7 animals inside of that mitten. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ka-choo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. And you see those animals on the sides? They got thrown out of the mitten. Now there aren't any animals inside the mitten. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. This is my favorite page of the story. They're looking at the mittens, and one is all stretched out, and the other is normal size. So that's kind of pretty funny. So with this story, we're going to take a look at how we can use some different strategies to solve word problems. So in our story, we added one animal to the mitten each time. So what I want you to see is that we can use a part whole map. We're going to be focusing on the number bond picture of this to show how 2 parts make one whole number in order to show a different way of writing our number sentences and a different strategy we can use with these word problems. So we're going to start off with that first animal in the mitten, and that first animal is the mole. So that meant that we had one animal inside of the mitten. Then along came that rabbit. That rabbit wanted to go in the mitten too. The rabbit was just one other animal, so we're going to write a 1 in the other circle. So we have 1 plus 1 equals. So we're going to see with these 2 parts, when you put them together, how they make the whole. So we know that 1 plus 1 makes 2. So we know that the mole, which is one animal, plus the rabbit, which is another animal, equal a total of 2 animals inside of the mitten. So we can show that like this. So we have that here. And we are going to see our next part where we can add even more animals. So we'll go down to the part where we have those even more animals in the mitten. We'll show how we might have 2 animals in the mitten already, and then we're going to add just one more. So make sure our number sentence matches, excuse me, the eraser fell, how that can match our problem. So we already had 2 animals in the mitten, the mole and the rabbit. When we had the hedgehog come by. Now the hedgehog was just one more animal, and he wanted to come in the mitten. So we need to find the total number of animals that were in the mitten. So we have 2 and 1. So we have 2 animals plus 1 animal is going to give us 1, 2, 3 total in the mitten. So we have a total of 3 animals in the mitten. We'll skip down to the part of the story when there were 7 animals in the mitten, and that was after the bear joined the rest of the animals in the mitten. And we added that one last animal to the mitten, which was the mouse. So 7 and 1. Now if we get to a bigger number and we're not so sure, we can also use dots to show our work. So I'm going to put 7 dots in the circle with the number 7, and I'll put 1 dot on the side. And I can use that to help me to count, to see how these 2 parts are going to make a total with our top circle there to show our number bond. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a total of 8 animals inside of the mitten. And those dots can help me to solve the problem. Now, another way you can use this strategy when you're solving your word problems is for you to use it for subtraction. So I'll show this by using the one problem in our story about how there were 8 animals in the mitten, and then when the bear sneezed, they all were thrown out of the mitten. So we'll start with our top number when we use subtraction. 8 take away 8. So when we take away 8 on our part whole mat, we will have, let's see, 8 take away 8. When you take a number away from itself, the answer is always going to be 0. So 8 take away 8 equals 0 in our part whole mat. So that is one strategy that we can use when we're solving these word problems. Another strategy we can use is using either diagrams or pictures to help us solve this. So I'm going to show you the way that you can use this with addition, and then I'll show you how you can use it with subtraction. So with this, you're just going to draw pictures or symbols that represent your problem. So I'm going to go to the part of the story when we had 4 animals in the mitten. And then we're going to add just 1 more because we added 1 more animal with each page. And then we need to see how many animals we had all together. For the animals, I drew circles to represent them for my pictures. So we'll count. So I'm doing 4 plus 1. So we'll count together. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you add 1 more and you get 5. In order to represent our problem on the other side of the equal sign, you are going to draw those 5 circles to represent those animals to show how 4 plus 1 will equal 5. You can also write your number sentence below to match your picture. So we have 4 plus 1 equals 5. So that's one way that you can use the pictures to help you in your addition and subtraction word problems. You can also use this with subtraction by drawing the total number of animals in our story like we were focusing on. So when we had 8 animals in our story, the mouse caused the bear to sneeze, and so those 8 animals were all thrown out of the mitten. So I'm going to draw 8 circles to represent those animals. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, what we can do when we're using subtraction with our pictures is that in order to represent how they're being taken away, you can X out each picture that's being taken away. So we know that we started off with 8, and we're going to take away 8 because that is how many animals were thrown out of the mitten. So we'll put an X over those pictures. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 8, take away 8. We see that we don't have any circles left that are not x'd out, so we know that our answer is going to be 0. So that's a way that we can use our pictures to help us with our addition and subtraction problems and our addition and subtraction word problems and addition and subtraction stories. So those are 2 new strategies that we're reviewing because last week we were taking a look at our 10 frames, how we could use those. We were using these when we read our story, Pete the Cat and the Missing Cupcakes, showing how those cupcakes went missing. We also came up with our own addition problems with those as well. We also took a look at our number lines and how we can use those to help us solve our word problems as well. So we'll continue to be looking at some different strategies that we can use to solve the word problems, and that way we will get zip zap ready with those as we work hard and continue on as we get closer and closer to first grade. So thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.